What's up, everybody? John Arapoli here with My MMA News, and I'm very excited to talk to today's guest who has been working on a great project here. I'm talking to Michael Chiesa, who just recently teamed up with the UFC and Modelo to help out the local men and women that serve this country out in his home state of Washington. So before we get into that project, let's welcome Mike in here. Mike, thanks for being here, man, and great job with this project. It was a great thing that you're doing, so good job with that, too.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm always going to jump on any opportunity that presents itself for me to give back to my community. I'm proud to be a Washingtonian. I'm very proud to be from the Pacific Northwest. So it's great that the UFC, Modelo, as well as Rebuilding Together, came up with this great project. So it's great to be a part of it.
And now let's dive into the specifics on this project. So you helped with Cappy's boxing gym. You guys kind of remodeled it, and it's going to be used to help out the servicemen and women so they could go and take classes there. Go ahead and explain kind of just a little bit more about this project and kind of the whole process that went about of getting this started.
It's just all about like revamping the gym. So there's a lot of new equipment. You got rid of a lot of the old bags, some of the fitness equipment, a lot of gloves, a lot of mitts, a lot of things like that, fresh coated paints, new bells and whistles, just really revamp the gym itself, and Cappy's did a really good job through the pandemic of like letting the veterans still come in and train and just kind of really just supporting the armed service members that want to partake in what goes on at that gym. And that's great for the people in the armed services as well as just the casual day-to-day people that are going to come in and out of that gym as well. So, it's great that Cappy's is committed to their basically essentially like a promise to the men and women of the armed services that they'll have a place to come train. I think it's really healthy.
And what made you exactly want to get involved in a project like this? Like, you're a UFC superstar, you can do whatever it is you want to do. Why this project?
Well, first and foremost, my childhood dreams were achieved in a gym. I had a dream as a child to be a UFC fighter, and walking in the door to Jiu-Jitsu mixed martial arts, which it has like a parallel to Cappy's gym. It's just kind of like a hole in the wall gym, but it doesn't matter if you're in like a world-class facility or if you're in a gym just trying to piece things together. Dreams can be achieved there. So, that was a big part of it. Their ties to the men and women of the armed services. My head coach, Rick Little, his dad was a Silver Star recipient, very high up in the Air Force. I actually, right now, I'm on VA Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona with my teammate, Tyler McGuire. So their commitment to the men and women of the armed services, on top of the fact that this is an MMA gym in my home state, in the same type of environment where I groomed my dreams, I want to give back to that type of establishment. So I'm going to jump all over any type of opportunity like that, whether it's, even if it's not in Washington, anywhere around the world. If there's some opportunity for me to give back to a community and do some type of charitable work, I'm always going to jump on it. But even more so when it's in the state of Washington, like I said, I'm very proud of where I'm from, and I always want to give back to the people of my state, people of Seattle, the people of Spokane.
So do you plan on, like, when these classes kind of get up and running and it's all in full swing, that you'll kind of go down to the gym, maybe get involved, help out with the classes at all?
Yeah, I had a good talk with the gym owner. I told him, maybe next time I'll come down here, I'll bring my gear and we'll get some work in. Former UFC fighter Anthony Hamilton trained there. It wouldn't even matter if there was UFC fighters there or not. I like to get in the mix and just train. This is what it's more than a job for me. This is just a way of life. Like, martial arts has been such a big part of my life. So, I like just getting in there and mixing it up with different people from different walks of life. Even if you're not, a UFC fighter, I still will come train with you. I'll still get on the mats and roll around. I'll still get in the ring and spar with you. I'll still train side by side with just about anybody that wants to go on their own martial arts journey. I'll do it with them. So I'm definitely planning on going back to Cappy's. We hit mitts a little bit, and I was kind of like in jeans and stuff. And I was like, I don't have my gear, but I'm going to come back. And it's good to make those kinds of connections for myself because, when I'm west of the Cascades in Seattle, I'm always looking for places to train. And I found another one in Cappy's boxing, which is great.
And now we've mentioned several times here about the servicemen and women. Just how important is it as Veteran Day approaches that we remember and honor our veterans for all of their hard work and service to this country?
It's beyond crucial. It's beyond my vocabulary to emphasize how important it is to remember what Veterans Day represents. We wouldn't be able to do the things that we do in our day-to-day lives here in America if it wasn't for the men and women that sacrifice their lives on the front lines, to preserve our freedoms. So it's important that we pay respects to those that are active, to those that are alive, and to those that have passed. So, Veterans Day is important around my group of friends, around my team. Like I said, I have a lot of close ties to people in the military. So it's important to really remember what Veterans Day is all about.
And one last thing now with this project, I know there's been a lot of people that have done a lot of work with it. You mentioned something before. Go ahead and give some more people a shout out, though, if you haven't mentioned anybody. Because I know it wasn't all just you. It wasn't all just the UFC. There's a lot of hands in on this that were really helping out with it.
Well, first and foremost, to the UFC, to Modelo, to Rebuilding Together, to Reed Harris, and the people underneath him at the UFC. They're really the ones that kind of do plug and play in terms of putting which fighters into which positions to have these types of opportunities, and just the whole staff. There's a laundry list of names of people that were there at the gym yesterday. Thanks to all the people that helped that helped set up stuff at the gym, that helped with the renovations. And thanks to the UFC. That's the most important one. The UFC is it's important for the UFC to get out there and spread. It's more than just, two guys getting locked in an octagon and putting on a show on Saturday night. The UFC wants to reach out to communities and wants to everything that surrounds and embodies the UFC, the fighting spirit, these gyms, things of that sort. They want to build these things up, and it's good that they're giving back to these things that essentially make the UFC so great.
And now, while all this is going on, you're in the middle of fight camp right now. You, of course, have a fight coming up against Sean Brady. Just kind of, how difficult was it in a way, to not only just go ahead preparing for a fight, but now you're off, you're doing these media obligations, of course, doing a lot with the gym, you're visiting a base in Arizona there. Just kind of how difficult is it balancing all of that?
It's not hard at all. My life is mixed martial arts. I don't have kids. I don't have this is all I have. I have my fiance, my two dogs, in mixed martial arts. So, a trip to Seattle to go do gym renovations on my day off isn't a big deal. It's a 40-minute flight from Spokane to Seattle. And I'm actually training out here in Tucson. So, Tyler McGuire, my teammate, he fought for the ONE FC welterweight title. And I've never, and he's active in the Air Force. So he got restationed out here, and so I've never lost a fight when I've had Tyler McGuire in my camp. So it's imperative for me to be out here training alongside him. We push each other a lot. So, it's everything I do is geared around this sport. So there are no distractions. And I like to be busy, even when I'm working the desk in Las Vegas, it's like, that's like a paid trip to go train. I go out there, I do my job, and I'd like to think that I do it well. I do my homework. I always study. I always show up prepared to work the desk as an analyst. But when I'm not sitting at that desk, I'm at Syndicate. I'm at the UFC Performance Institute. I'm at 10th Planet. I'm mixing it up with Frank Hickman doing wrestling and stuff. So it would be foolish for any opponent I'm facing to think that just because I'm busy out doing all these other things, it'd be very foolish for them to think that I'm missing time in my preparation, because I'd like to think that I'm one of the hardest working guys in the sport, and I'm going to prove that on the 20th.
All right, Mike, before you roll out, I know we're getting close to the time limit here. You have other media obligations. Just real quick, I do want to get your thoughts on this upcoming matchup against Sean Brady and how you see the fight going down that night.
I think Sean's a very well-rounded guy. Comes from a good team. He trains alongside my UFC Roundup counterpart, Paul Felder. And that poor guy, he's got to watch all his buddies fight each other. That's gotta suck. But when I look at Sean, I see a guy he's pretty good everywhere. I think that's a good thing, and it's also a bad thing. When you're pretty good at everything but not exceptional at one thing, it's like it can come back to bite you in the butt. But I expect a tough fight. I know that he's hungry. I've been in his position. I look at this, where he's at right now fighting me is where I was January 25th, 2020, when I was fighting RDA. I was an unranked guy making my way up, and I got a shot at the number 5 ranked guy at welterweight. So I know what it's like to be in Sean Brady's shoes. I know what his headspace is like. The difference is I'm not on my way out. I'm still on my way up. So I know how hungry he is. I know what he's going to bring to the octagon, and I'm going to be very well prepared. I think he's in for a rough night.
And finally, one last thing here. You and Juliana Pena, I know, are very good friends. You have the whole Washington State vibe going on there. She, of course, is challenging Amanda Nunes. Just your thoughts on that. How excited you are to see her go out and compete and have a shot to shock the world.
I couldn't be any more happy for Juliana. I know Juliana started training like a week after me. So we've been walking this whole journey hand in hand together. And I know what she's had to overcome to get to this moment. You know, she's had some tough losses. She's had some crazy things happen in her life. And the fact that she's got herself to this moment, I always told myself that if Julie can just get to that title fight, that's the toughest part. I don't think the fight itself is the hardest part. I think that journey to get to that fight with Amanda was the hardest part. Just knowing that what she's had to overcome in her life, in her professional career. So to me, the hard work is done. Now she gets to really showcase what she's all about. And, you know, I'm going to be one of the few that won't be surprised when she gets that belt wrapped around her waist. And I'm really looking forward to watching her compete. I'll be there for it for sure.
All right. Tell everybody where they can find you out on social media. Also, if you have any management or sponsors, anybody you got to give a shout out to, please feel free to do so.
So all my social media is at MyMMANews. Big shout out to all the men and women of the armed services. Make sure everybody else outside of the armed services, make sure to pay your respects on Veterans Day. Shout out to Daniel Rubenstein, best manager in the business.
All right, that was Michael Chiesa. Great work doing all of that there for the servicemen and women. It's very important to honor all of those people who serve this great nation that we live in, and it's really great to see you using your platform to do something like this. It is extremely great, and I'm extremely thankful that you took the time out of your schedule to be here today and do this interview to discuss that. And now just finally, guys, before I roll out, just want to remind you, if you like today's interview, please go to the bottom, give it a thumbs up. Also, keep going to MyMMANews to check out all of our great work, see other interviews just like this. If you want to see more interviews from me, go ahead, hit the subscribe button. This way you'll be alerted whenever I produce an interview like the one you just saw here today. And if you want to find me on social media, I'm at John Arapoli on Instagram and Twitter. We'll see you later, everybody.